In this video, we are going to understand about kernel mode, user mode, JVM, compiler and interpreter. So coming to the user mode. In user mode, application runs with limited access to system resources. It ensures security by preventing application from direct interacting with hardware or critical system components. For example, if you want to run a browser or text editor that is operating in user mode, that is not required any uh, direct controls from the hardware. So next moving on to the kernel mode. So kernel mode has full access to hardware and system resources. The operating system runs in this mode and can execute privileged instructions like memory management, process scheduling and hardware communication. It can access all system memory and execute any CPU instruction. So the next one is switching. So switching between modes. The transition from user mode to kernel mode happen via system call. So that means requests that are made by user to the OS. So let us take an example. When an application needs to open a file, it requires the OS when it switches to kernel mode to handle the operation safely. So when a programmer requests to open a file, it cannot access the disk directly in user mode. Instead, it sends a system call to the OS, switching the CPU to kernel mode, where the OS handles the file operation before returning to the controller to user mode. So next moving on to JVM. So JVM means Java Virtual Machine. So JVM is a virtual machine that allows Java program to run on any operating system without any modification. So converting Java bytecode into machine code. So when the Java code is compiled, it converted to into an intermediate format called bytecode. The JVM then interprets or compiles this bytecode into machine code specific to the OS to its running. So Java code follows the write once, run anywhere. So it means the same Java code can run on Windows, Linux or Mac without any changes. This is possible because JVM abstract the underlying system differences. So coming to the memory management and security. JVM includes automatic memory management, that is also called garbage collection, that is used to handle memory allocation and deallocation. It provides security features like bytecode verification to prevent some suspected code executions. What is a compiler? A compiler takes the entire source of code and translates it into mission code at once before running the program. The generated mission code is then executed directly by the CPU and faster execution but longer time of compilation. Since the entire program is compiled beforehand, execution is faster compared to the interpretation. However, the compilation process itself takes more time because it translates the entire code at once. So for example, C and C++ uses the compilers like GCC and G++, and Java uses the JavaC compiler. We had seen about what compiler is. So let's move on to interpreter. An interpreter reads the source code line by line and executes it immediately. Unlike a compiler, it does not convert the entire program into machine code, and it is slower execution. Since the code is executed line by line, it runs slower compared to compiled programs. However, it does not require a separate compilation step, making development and debugging faster. For example, Python, JavaScript, and PHP interpreted on web services. So these are the examples of interpreter languages. In previous slides, we have discussed about compilers and interpreters. So let us differentiate the main differences between compiler and interpreter. So in compiler, faster execution takes place because it translates the code at once into machine code before execution. Whereas in interpreter, slower execution as it translates the code and runs the code line by line instead of all at once. And the key difference is in compilers, once compiled, the programs run efficiently without further translation. Whereas in interpreter, no separation and compilation step, making the code easier for debugging and rapid development. C, C++ are compiled languages, whereas Python, JavaScript are interpreted languages. The key differences are compiler process the whole code before execution, making them faster but require compilation time. Interpreter execute line by line, making them slower but easier for debugging. So these are the main differences between compiler and interpreter. So thank you.